Damian Lillard has finally been dealt from Portland, and it was the Milwaukee Bucks that swooped in just a week before training camp to grab the superstar to pair with the two-time MVP in Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis floated the idea of a potential exit from Milwaukee, as he was not willing to commit to signing an extension with the Bucks unless they showed clear intent of fielding a competitive roster around him to compete for a championship. I believe it's safe to say that Giannis' wish was granted. Pairing Damian Lillard with Giannis Antetokounmpo is a dream fit, a duo I believe to be the best fit out of any two we have in today's NBA. As we know, Giannis can be a prolific scorer, but doesn't have the quote-unquote bag to be the guy you can always throw the ball to go get you a bucket. Giannis dominates in transition and is prolific when attacking the rim, but when you take a look at his efficiency away from the rim, it starts to get a little dicey. Giannis shoots 71.5% within 5 feet of the rim, and any shot outside of 5 feet, he shoots 30.1%. As an isolation scorer, Giannis scores just 0.83 points per possession, putting him in the 34th percentile, meaning he's only better than 34% of the entire NBA in isolation scoring, which is horrible. What makes it really tough at times in the playoffs for Milwaukee, when it really gets down to it, is the lack of isolation scoring. When you take a look at their former lead guard in Jrue Holiday, he was also a really bad isolation scorer. He clocked in at 0.73 points per possession, which would be the 20th percentile. Crunch time playoff basketball boils down to running screens, hunting switches, and having your best bucket getter get you on the board. The Bucks really didn't have that guy on a reliable basis, so Milwaukee Bucks GM John Horst decided to pick up the phone and go get one of the best offensive players in basketball. The Bucks ship out Jrue Holiday, Grayson Allen, a 2029 first, as well as 2028 and 2030 first-round swap rights with the Bucks in return for Damian Lillard. What makes the Dame acquisition so amazing for Milwaukee is that it solves one of the very few problems that this Milwaukee offense had, which was isolation scoring. Damian Lillard scores 1.17 points per possession in isolation, putting him in the 91st percentile of the entire NBA. Not only is he elite in isolation, but Damian Lillard is also one of the best pick-and-roll ball handlers in the NBA when it comes to scoring off of screens. As the pick-and-roll ball handler, Dame scores 1.13 points per possession, which puts him at the 94th percentile. To put points per possessions in perspective, Damian Lillard scoring at 1.17 points per possession means over 100 possessions he and the team would score 117 points. That would be equivalent to the league's 8th best offense in the entire NBA last season, just off of Dame isolations. When you ingest Dame's raw box score numbers, they're marvelous enough on their own. 32.2 points per game, 7.3 assists per game, and just below 5 rebounds a game, while shooting 46% from the field, 37% from 3, and 91% from the line, shooting over 11 threes a game last season. Another factor that most people really aren't talking about is the fact that Milwaukee now has two guys who are absolutely elite at getting to the free throw line. Giannis was number 1 in free throws attempted last season at 772, while Dame was 7th in free throws attempted at 558. This makes Milwaukee the only team in the league to have two players in the top 10 of free throws attempted from last season. Surely it's not all perfect for Milwaukee, as losing Jrue Holiday will be a huge blow for the Bucks on the defensive end. Jrue Holiday, Giannis Antetokounmpo, as well as the DPOY runner-up in Brook Lopez, was a tremendous trio on the defensive side of the court, as they helped the Bucks hold the 4th best defensive rating in the league last season at 111.9. The Bucks hung their hats on tenacious defense in the playoffs, but that now has shifted as they look to have really a balanced team that can offer elite offense, as well as a team that can compete on the defensive end as well. When you take a look at the Bucks depth chart after the trade, there's definitely a bit of a hole when you look at the 2-3 spot, whoever's starting alongside Chris Middleton, but I doubt it's going to matter that much in the long run. Pat Connaughton, I would imagine, would slot into the starting 5 full time, as he spent a lot of time there last season as Chris Middleton dealt with a lot of injuries. With the Bucks roster most likely set in stone outside of the possibility of some fringe free agent signings, What does this mean for the rest of the Eastern Conference? Well, in my professional opinion, I think they're any potential contenders in the Eastern Conference, such as Boston, Philly, Cleveland, Miami, New York, or anyone else for that matter, no team has the personnel to really match up with Milwaukee. Boston maybe is the best bet defensively, but they no longer have Marcus Smart, who would have made the perfect pairing with Al Horford and Rob Williams to try to slow down the new-look Bucks. New York and Cleveland have some personnel to slow them down, but neither have the offensive firepower to hang with Lillard and Giannis. The Lillard to Milwaukee news had to be devastating for the Miami Heat, as they lose out on the superstar they coveted for 2 months and now have no shot of participating in a Giannis sweepstakes. As of now, Miami looks bare bones and they will be in for a rough regular season, but it's hard to count them out in the playoffs until they are out of the playoffs. One of the most interesting threads in this trade dynamic is that none of these Eastern Conference teams have a guy that could stick Damian Lillard. Guess who's one of the best guard defenders in the league who's available for trade right now? Jrue Holiday. Whether they intended to do this or not, Portland created a huge problem for any team in the East that's looking to compete and also win a championship by sending Dame to Milwaukee to play with Giannis. In the same move, they also acquire one of the only solutions available to said problem in Jrue Holiday. Portland decided to corner the market, create a problem, and then also have the only tangible solution for sale for the said problem, and that's a job well done by the Portland front office, which in theory could raise Jrue Holiday's stock in a trade quite a bit. The only possible issue for Portland trying to move Jrue for top dollar is the fact that Jrue floated the idea of possibly retiring from the NBA after his contract has finished. How many teams are willing to float a lot of assets for just 2 years of Jrue Holiday at the end of his playing days? Also, let's not forget that even if you find a way to slow Dame and Giannis down, Chris Middleton is still waiting in the shadows. Another 20 points per game scorer who could fire at will and contribute at all 3 levels on offense, as he was very solid in the 2021 NBA Finals run. Add Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez waiting on the wings as well as providing low post offense. This Milwaukee team really can bring any type of look on offense to counter whatever a team's defense is scheming for. I'm very thrilled to see that the Dame saga has finally concluded, as it's been a long, boring summer this offseason. I'm also really excited to see what this Milwaukee team can do this season with a brand new coach leading the charge. I am not looking forward to Milwaukee probably kicking my favorite team all season long, but I'm sure most of us can relate on that front.